So I'm really excited. Today we're joined by Dave Mattson, CEO and President of Sandler Training. Hey, Dave, I got a bunch of questions for you. So let's just jump right into it. Has anyone ever actually tried to teach a kid to ride a bike at a seminar? Or are we just assuming it won't work? What if it's like a really big seminar? Rumor has it that you're actually a sales robot created in a secret government lab. Any truth to that? Is your CPU a neural net processor, a learning computer? Now, when I first met you, Dave, you didn't have that goatee. How do I know you're not actually Dave Mattson's evil twin, Gabe Mattson?
Listen, Nema, this is like a pandemic, right? Lots of serious stuff going on out there. Do we have any serious questions for today?
Let me check. No. No. Hey, Dave, so there's a lot of disruption right now in selling and in management. I'm curious, from your perspective, what do you see right now as being just for the time being in sales versus what's actually going to change going forward long after the pandemic is over?
Well, I think it's hard for anyone to say this is what the new normal is going to look like because it changes on every day, right? I know at Sandler, we're trying to prepare for lots of different scenarios for the new normal. But I think from sales perspective, I think the video conferencing is going to become more of a way of life. I think working from home is going to become more of a way of life. Lots of people have done it, but there's a ton of people out there who have never done it. And I think the discipline that inside sales has had all these years is probably going to come to the forefront as we become more scientific when it comes to the sales and sales process. And I'm seeing that now. Just had a conversation with Salesforce.com. They said the exact same thing. They said, look, inside sales, very disciplined, very scientifically approached. And they believe, and I do too, that that's more and more of what the future is going to look like.
Yeah. So what can leaders do to kind of prepare for that? And maybe even people who are used to having the in-office sales environment and virtual is now the new normal. What are kind of some maybe behaviors or processes that leaders can begin to build to help prepare for the new future?
Well, I think the first thing that they need to do is do a self-inventory. Most leaders have not led remotely. So that's a big shift. Most leaders have not managed a group of people who are newly working from home. And that's a huge shift because, people working from home, we're finding an awful lot about ourselves that we never knew before, right? We've got a lot of distractions. So that's a whole new thing. But I also think that from a leader's perspective, we took a lot of things for granted. When I could walk down the hallway and talk to somebody, or I could shove something through the system. You talk to salespeople, they'll always tell you, the prospect's easier. It's easy. It's hard to sell these deals internally. And I think that's going to become more and more the issue. So I think we need to do an inventory of the processes that we're currently following. What are we going to do to change those to the new normal? And then really make sure that we have the playbooks to support those. I think most companies would tell you that they have them. I think they're finding right now they do not have them.
Yeah, and I think, we talk about that a lot with my clients and other Sandler trainers around the world, that we have this idea of methodology being the sheet music. And then your process is kind of the unique way you play your instrument. And it's interesting because I think early on, people thought things were disrupting and things were changing. And I think now they're starting to realize the very same principles that Sandler taught, that leaders taught their teams, things such as the importance of DISC profiles and behavioral tendencies, the importance of having strong upfront contracts on the technique side. I'm curious, do you see that kind of changing at all, assuming that we're going to be in this virtual world for a while, or is it kind of more of the same?
I think it's going to be, more of the same, but accents on different things, right? So, look, we have less disruptions now, less distractions that are going on. People aren't walking into your hallways. There's not, some report that somebody needs in 5 minutes. Things have changed. So we can be between 35 to 40% more productive. That gives us time to do things that we said we never had time for, like the pre-call planners, right? Like to really get our talk tracks down. So I think that the structure of a call will not change. I think it is going to be harder, though, to engage others when you've got 4 or 5 on a video Zoom call for the sales call versus just a one-on-one. So we're going to have to learn our rapport skills, but differently applied, right? And I think that's really where the shift is going to be. I think that's where people are going to struggle because they're going to get caught up in the weeds, when in reality, we're trying to connect. We just have to connect differently. And it's going to take some time, but you need to practice offline before you get in front of a real life buyer on a video type sales call.
Yeah, no, that's great, Dave. So just before we wrap up here, if you were to suggest to sales leaders one behavior, one attitude, and one technique for them to really implement and work on right now, what would those be?
From a sales leader's perspective, I think that my attitude would be to instill confidence in the organization. Look, we're past, the Eeyore stage, and everyone had the right to, kind of muddle in there for a while. But now I think leaders have to say, okay, what are we going to do in the present situation? And what are we doing, more importantly, to get ourselves ready whenever this tails off? I think more people are focused in on today. I think they're missing the boat of what's going to happen 30 to 60 days down the road. And that's the real opportunity, right? So that would be my mindset. My behavior is that I would get everybody on a cookbook. I think that people need to be gently led in what are they supposed to be doing every single day to structure my day in order to make sure that I'm successful. So you can use things like care. You can use things like, hey, the time slot from 9 to 10 is I want you to call existing clients. From 11 to 12, I'd like you to do this. We're not micromanaging what they're doing during that time period, but give them time blocks. Technique, I would say communicate, and then communicate some more. Sending a quick email was never effective, but it's certainly not effective now. You've got to touch people and over communicate in a lot of different modalities. And I think as leaders, we probably, because we're just blowing and going at 1,000 miles a minute, we didn't do that naturally in the past. You're going to have to do that in tomorrow's world. It's just going to happen.
Dave, so thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed it.
I did. And thanks for all those serious questions.
That's what I'm here for. So Sandler Worldwide Shoutouts, we are going to be bringing Sandler trainers from around the world, getting their best practices, their behaviors, their attitudes, and their techniques. So I hope you guys at home learn something. Happy selling, good luck, and have a wonderful day.
Okay, 5.
There you go. That's so good. All right. I think that's the one.